Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to share with you a review of the new NATASHA DENONA Gold Palette. I'm going to share swatches of all the shades in the palette. I'll let you guys know if I think it was worth the $129 and also a tutorial on this look. So if you guys want to know everything about the new NATASHA DENONA Gold Palette, then just keep on watching. Alright, so here is the gold palette. It's actually quite large. I've seen them in stores, but when it's in your house, it just looks even bigger, honestly. So this is what it looks like on the inside. There are 15 shadows. It's $129. And when I saw all of the shades, just like on Trendmood and seeing the swatches, I'm like, let me just go ahead and get this one because I know I'm gonna get a NATASHA DENONA palette at some point, and none of them have really caught my attention like this palette, basically because it's a very staple neutral palette with two colorful shades. Like the only colorful shades that I ever wear are blues. So this is what the palette looks like. You have 15 shades, 6 matte shades, and then 9 metallic shades, duochromes or glitters. So they're all different finishes. And then you actually get a ton of product. You get 1.2 ounces of eyeshadow. And so just for like a size comparison, I have my Norvina palette. In the Norvina palette, you actually get a little bit less than a fourth of the eyeshadow you're getting in the NATASHA DENONA full-size palette. So that's just a comparison if you guys want to know how much actual product that is. In all the Anastasia palettes, they're all the same amount of product. You get a little bit less than 1/4 compared to this, and this is 3 times more the price. So if you think of it as like a ton of eyeshadow for how much money you're spending, kind of justifies the price. But honestly, like I have so many palettes, I'm never gonna run out of them. So if this is like the one palette in your life, maybe that makes sense. But otherwise, this is just like a very, very expensive eyeshadow palette. But that's kind of like everything for like the layout and the shades. I was actually really surprised just seeing it in person how big the pans and everything were. It just kind of made more sense. And then for the actual packaging, it's a little bit annoying, and I feel like it kind of cheapens it a little bit, that it has this like plastic overlay. I wish that it was just like right on the palette. I don't know if that's like too not sophisticated or something, but yeah, that's just like a little annoying. It's like an iPhone cover or something. But that is kind of like the overall gist of the layout, the look of the palette. So pretty. And then no, it doesn't have the names in the back, it's just plain. But I'm just gonna get right into all of the swatches. I've applied all 15 shadows on my eyes already, so I can let you guys know how I feel about every single shade in here, the formula, pigmentation, all of that. So let's go ahead and get into all of the swatches. So I'm just gonna go row by row of swatches, and I will warn you that there's a lot of glittery shades in this palette. So some of the swatches are gonna be really underwhelming, but they apply a lot differently than they swatch for sure. And I will let you guys know which shadows those are. So I'm gonna start off with this first shade, and this one is called Lime Chrome. And this is like a really pretty gold green color. It has like a little bit of a pink reflect in there too. It's so pretty. And then the next shade is called Python, and this is it's not necessarily matte. It still has a little bit of a sheen to it, but it's mostly a matte kind of bluish color. Then the next shade is like very much straight up a glitter. It's one of those like shadow topper shades that you can apply to like transform any other color. It's like really subtle, but it's what's in my inner corner today. Next we have a matte brown shade, and this is called Aria. It's just like a very neutral matte brown color. It's actually what I used for my transition shade. And then the last shade in the first row is Canva, and this is more of a glittery shade as well. This is what's on my lid actually. Then Aurora is the first shade in the second row. It's a really pretty blue color, and it looks so underwhelming swatched, but applied on the eye, it looks so good. Then Dijon is this really pretty like mustard brown color. Oro is this really pretty metallic gold shade. That one swatches really nicely because it's more of a firmly pressed shadow and not something that's more of a glittery texture. Then this is the darkest matte brown. This is the shade Log. Then the last shade in the second row is called Varus. This is like a shimmery copper color. It's really pretty. I have it like in my outer corner today. And moving into the third row, the first shade Brass is a gorgeous metallic gold color. This one has more of like a greenish reflect to it too. It's so pretty. Next to that, we have the shade Sandstone, which is another matte brown transition shade. A lot of these matte browns look kind of similar actually. And then next to that, we have Alchemist. This is a copper color, another metallic shade that is really nicely pressed as well. It's a really pretty lid color. And then we have the shade Teak. This is more of like a darker medium brown, another matte shade. And then lastly, we have the shade Ariam, and this is a metallic gold shadow. So those are all 15 shades. A lot of it looks so bad, and I feel so bad because I feel like I'm not doing it justice, because this is like the true swatch and not me like layering it up. All the matte shadows, they look pathetic. Like the swatches look so pathetic, but they all apply so well. Like probably the best mattes I have in my collection. Really reminds me of the mattes in the Anastasia palettes, like in the Norvina palette that I have, where it just goes on very, very pigmented, but it doesn't have quite as much fallout as like the Anastasia shadows. I apologize to these swatches because yeah, they just look bad. But that's actually just how they swatch. I mean, I could layer them up, but I think that would kind of defeat the purpose of swatching the shadows. And then you can kind of see the different textures with the shimmer and metallic and duochrome and glitter shades. They're all different textures. So some of them you can tell are like a lot more metallic. You're gonna get a lot of pigmentation right off the bat, especially with this shade right here. This shade, and this shade, they are all a little bit, and this one right here too, are basically a lot more creamier and are really gonna stick onto your lid right away without any glitter glue or needing to wet your brush. With this shade, the blue shade, the shade I'm wearing on my lid, and then of course this glitter topper, you're gonna want to use a glitter glue or a wet brush for sure. Otherwise, you're not gonna get that color payoff, but just wetting your brush like I do with every single metallic shadow that I apply on my lid, you're gonna get amazing pigmentation. So just know that those shades are gonna give you, they're just gonna be a little bit more glittery, and they're gonna need something to like hold on to your eye look basically. So I almost feel like bad putting the swatches in this video, but I just wanted to give you guys an idea of the different formulas and stuff. Just like looking at this, I'm like, what is this mess right here? Or like this, it doesn't even look like I tried to swatch it at all. But this is just like one quick swatch so you guys can get a gist for the pigmentation and the texture of the different shadows. When you see them in action, they'll make a little bit more sense. The mattes apply beautifully. The shimmers, some of them you do need to wet, but the majority of them are really, really metallic right off the bat. So just know that there's some different formulas going on with the palette. But let's go ahead into the tutorial so you can actually see how the shadows apply and how they actually do get really pigmented and are really easy to like blend and everything. All right, so I'm gonna start off with this light brown shade as my first transition shade, and the matte shadows in here are awesome. They're just like super, super pigmented and really, really easy to blend. They build really quickly, so I just need a little bit of shadow to start off. And I'm just using a Sigma E40. I'm just gonna carry this up a little bit higher. I do wish there was like one more light brown in here because a lot of the brown matte shades are really similar. They just have like slightly different undertones, but some of them like aren't even different enough to really make a huge difference once you apply it. Next up, I'm taking this slightly darker matte brown. I'm gonna focus that in my outer corner and my crease. They just layer really nicely. I'm also gonna take the tiniest bit of the darkest matte brown, and this is a cool tone shade, so it can get really dark really quickly. So I don't want to kind of carry that too far in, just kind of keep it on the outer edge of my eye. So I am gonna wet my brush. This is a Morphe M124, and I'm using kind of like this glittery shadow. This is like one of my favorites in the palette. It's this shade up in this corner, and this one is like a bit chunkier, so that's why especially I want to apply it with a wet brush, because some of the shadows that have like a little bit more of a metallic or glitter finish aren't gonna apply super pigmented on their own. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna wet my brush for this. I'm going in with a dry brush first to this like deeper copper shimmer shade. Just wanna add a little bit. Yeah, I think that's actually good enough. I just wanna add a little bit to the outer corner. And I'm also gonna take the tiniest bit of the dark matte brown and just apply it to the outer edge of my eye. And then lastly, I'm just gonna take the center glitter shade. Just gonna apply that in my inner corner. All right, so this is the finished look. It literally took like 2 minutes. It's so simple, but this has been like my go-to look with the palette, and it's kind of like what I'm gonna be gravitating towards mostly with this palette. Of course, there's like the 2 pops of blue, and I'm gonna do a tutorial on my Instagram this week using the blue shades. I did an eye look off camera because I wanted to see what I wanted to do for that tutorial, so you guys will see that very soon. But I think that if you're buying this palette, you're probably buying it mostly for the gold shades and not those 2 like blue and aqua shades, because it's such an expensive palette. And if you like golds, that's probably why you're purchasing this palette. So I wanted to show you guys kind of like my go-to really quick and easy look with this palette, and just like see how the shadows look in action and how they blend out and everything, like so quick and easy to use. And that's just what I find with like pretty much all of the shades in the palette. There's a couple different textures, but overall like the pigmentation, the quality, the ease of them is all like pretty similar. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw on some lashes, and then I'll give you guys all my final thoughts about the palette. All right guys, so here is the finished look, and it's basically just like my go-to fall look with this palette. I will be doing a blue shadow tutorial using like the more colorful shades in the palette on my Instagram in the next couple days, so definitely stay tuned for that. I tried out the look that I want to share yesterday actually, and it's so easy to work with. The blue shadows, I'm actually really impressed with like both of them because they just apply really easily, especially this like kind of matte blue shade. It's not like a really messy, colorful shade where you're gonna get a lot of fallout or anything. It really stays in place where you apply it on your eye, and so does the lighter blue shadow, especially if you use it wet. If you don't use it wet, it's gonna be a lot more subtle. And overall, I am really happy with the pigmentation and the formula of all of the shadows in here. I think that my biggest letdown is not the quality, but it's just the variety of shadows. Not so much that the golds are all redundant, because that's what I saw, or like that's what I thought when I was just seeing swatches of the palette. I thought a lot of the golds would be too similar, but because I do like champagnes and golds the most, I feel like there's enough differences between a lot of the golds that it makes it okay with me. And it's also a gold themed palette. I would say that really the matte browns are, a lot of them are pretty much like this one, and this one are all gonna look the same on the eye. So I wish that there was a lighter shade and then maybe just something else in there too, because I feel like you get a lot of similar looks with all of the matte browns in there. And then in terms of the price, I was actually underwhelmed for how much money I spent. Because I find that the quality is pretty similar to like Anastasia, like my Norvina palette, and I love that palette, I love that formula, but for way more money, I just wanted something new and something extra basically. So I didn't find that the quality was any different than like any $50, $60 palette that I have in my collection. Honestly, you're just getting a ton more shadow and you're getting the name attached to it. So I basically just wanted to go ahead and splurge on a NATASHA Denona palette. But if you're like, let me spend a lot of money on a really high quality palette, you're probably gonna be disappointed because it's like the same quality to me as my Anastasia palette, which I love, which I think is an amazing formula, but it's way cheaper. You're getting a lot more shadow with this, but I don't need shadow for a whole town for one palette, basically. I don't need that much gold shadow. I only have 2 eyes. So I definitely love the palette and love the quality, but I don't think that it's anything particularly different than anything else I've tried in the past that I happen to like really like. So there's cheaper out there for like the same quality is kind of basically my point. But that's gonna be everything for this video. Let me know if you guys have tried out this palette. Let me know if you have a favorite from NATASHA Denona in the comments. And yeah, that's gonna be everything for today's video. If you guys liked it, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.